How's it going, everybody? So in today's video, we're going to be discussing, are you really ready for your next Jiu-Jitsu belt promotion? There's a few common things I think people need to think about before they really ask, are they ready? And before they go approach their instructor and kind of get into the weeds and maybe get disappointed. So we're going to talk about that right now. What's up, everybody? My name is Chasen. I'm a Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I've been teaching and training now for over 12 years. So if you guys like all things Jiu-Jitsu, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below. I really appreciate it. With that, I have now finally reached over 500 subscribers. Woo! I started this channel close to about a year ago. COVID really messed everything up, and I maybe had less than 100 subscribers. So now to have over 500, I greatly appreciate it. Before you go and approach your coach about, am I ready for my next belt promotion? Let's talk about a few things, okay? So most of the time in my experience, if you think that you're ready for your next belt promotion, you're probably not. When people think that they're ready for their next belt promotion, they start to feel good. They're training well, maybe they're dominating their training partners, they're having success at tournaments, and they really think that they're ready for the next stage. They really think that they're ready for the next stage. They're ready to progress. They're ready to move on. Coach, I'm ready to go. I want to support. I want to be at the next belt. I want to move on. And that's great. That tells me that you're interested, but a lot of times, because you are saying that and you're thinking that, believe it or not, that tells me that you're not ready. That means you usually have a false sense of security. I even went through this myself. There was times that I remember specifically when I was a white belt that I thought I was ready for my blue belt. And then I sat down, my instructor went over some techniques with me, asked me to demonstrate a few techniques, even rolled with me, pointed out all these things that I really didn't know, and it kind of shot my ego. But what that meant though is that it meant I was not ready for my blue belt. And that happens sometimes. And so you know what I did? I spent about 4 or 5 months. I went back to the drawing board. I worked on these things and it dramatically jumped my game up. But also what it did is it changed my mindset of thinking. I went from thinking that I was ready for my blue belt to now being terrified of getting my blue belt. You guys get that belt. A lot of times that's great. This is this great reward that you've gotten this new belt, but now you have to live up to that belt, right? You're expected to demonstrate these techniques and these knowledge bases. You're expected to spar this way. You're expected to know these things. And so now there becomes a lot more responsibility. Unfortunately, I think, this is just my personal opinion, I think students have actually quit, so especially blue belts have quit because they were promoted way too early. And so what ended up happening is they got promoted to blue belt, and then a lot of the white belts maybe possibly dominated inside the gym. Maybe this blue belt didn't do very well in tournaments, and it really messed up their psyche. So being promoted too early is almost more detrimental than not being promoted at all. Really, there's nothing bad that happens if you don't get promoted. If you stay a blue belt for 5 years, so what? If you stay a white belt for 3 years, so what? You're the greatest white belt in the world. You're the white belt world champion. Woo! Usually if you ask your instructor, or if you're saying, man, I think I'm ready for my blue belt. Oh man, I think I'm ready for my purple belt. And trust me, instructors, they know when you're saying that, right? You may not say it to an instructor, but you may say it to the buddy sitting next to you, or your training partner next to you. Man, I think I'm really ready. I don't know why coach whatever won't give me, or professor whatever won't give me my blue belt. Man, I'm ready for it. That right there, if you're doing that and you truly think that, I can almost guarantee you 90% of the people that do that are not ready for that belt. There may be occasions where people are being held back for whatever specific reasons. Grudges, instructor doesn't like them, right? There are probably legitimate reasons that it happens. I'm not denying that happens, but most people, I can guarantee you in my experience, most people that have come up to me and really said that they're ready and interested and ready, they're usually not ready at all. So if this video is resonating with you guys right now and you really like this, make sure you guys leave me a comment down below about what belt did you feel like you were really ready to promote to, or if there was no belt that you thought you were ready for, please leave me a comment down below. The other belt that I was super terrified to get, probably the belt I was the most terrified to get, believe it or not, was my brown belt. And let me talk a little bit about that. The reason why my brown belt was so terrifying was because when you get your brown belt, you're like, oh crap, I'm one click away from being a black belt, and now I have to live up to all these expectations, and all these amazing people are black belts, all these people that I've looked up to for the rest of my jiu-jitsu career are now black belts. Oh my God, oh man. Getting my brown belt was terrifying because I knew I was only like one click away. Now, let me talk about the other side of sometimes what happens when you promote people. Sometimes as an instructor, I know someone is very close and ready to be promoted, but they're not quite there, and maybe I want to see a little bit more of a drive. And you'll start to know your students over time. This typically happens with the later belts than the earlier belts. Typically this happens more at the purple and brown belt. Sometimes instructors will promote you because they want you to rise to that belt. Maybe they see that you have this great potential and you're a monster on some days, and some days you're a little bit lazy and you don't swing it into gear and you don't do this. So some days they say, okay, you know, Mike, you're a brown belt, here's your brown belt now, I'm working for these things. And then Mike's game all of a sudden just boom, shoots up. And that I feel like kind of happened to me a little bit. I was a purple belt and I felt like that, you know, I was pretty comfortable as a purple belt. I felt like I did a very good job against most purple belts that I rolled with, but I definitely was not the most skilled purple belt in the gym. I had guys that would really, you know, I had blue belts that would really challenge me. You know, I'm a little bit smaller, I'm only about 160 pounds. So if I had a bigger blue belt who was pretty skilled, you know, they could give me a hard time as a purple belt. But then for some reason when I got my brown belt, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just the magic of the belt or whatever, but it just made me kind of rise up. And now I took all these extra notice of techniques and I really focused on my position and what I needed to do and how to improve. And it really raised my level of jiu-jitsu up, I felt like. So sometimes that can definitely happen, but by no means does that mean like you should ask for that next belt because you think that's all of a sudden going to make you better. Your instructor really knows what they're doing. You know, you need to trust them. That's why you're paying them this money, is to teach them. And if you think that they're not valuable at what they're doing or what they're teaching you, leave the gym and go somewhere else. If you think you can do it better, by all means open up a jiu-jitsu school. There are not enough jiu-jitsu schools out there in this world to service the amount of students that are out there. So if you think you can do it better, please open up a jiu-jitsu school and I will 100% support you, and I hope you have all the success in the world. What are some things that you can do if you're like, man, maybe I am thinking that I'm ready for my next belt? Is there some guidelines I can follow or some rules I can look for on how to improve? And unfortunately, to really tell you the truth, that's all based upon the gym you train at. Every gym has their own way that they guide people in curriculum that they promote based upon. Sometimes it's purely based upon tournament performance. Sometimes it's based on technique driven. You have to know these set amount of techniques, and sometimes it's a hybrid of both. Every school is different. Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have a uniform curriculum like karate or taekwondo does. A lot of people say that that's because that's what watered down karate and taekwondo was. Basically almost every school, especially here in America, was teaching the same intro, was teaching the same katas, was teaching the same thing, and people were teaching to promote people versus teaching them for the techniques and everything else behind it. And jiu-jitsu has been able to safely kind of prevent that just promotion and weakness inside of the art. At the school that I train at, Redline Jiu-Jitsu, make sure you guys check it out down below, that we actually have a basics and fundamentals curriculum. That's every technique that they need to know from white to blue belt. And then they actually have to come to so many open mats and sparring sessions before they're even able to test for their blue belt or be assessed for their blue belt. So we have some guidelines, but really at the end of the day, just because they have all of that achieved, that does not mean that they get the belt and hand it over. That just tells me as an instructor that this person has met these requirements and now they can be really started to take seriously and to be assessed. 9 times out of 10 out of the school that you train at, unless you're at one of these giant schools in New York or LA that's got 1,500 students in it, most schools have anything between 100 and 200 students. That's even with kids and adults like combined. Most of the time the head instructors can really keep a hands-on and they know when students are ready to be promoted. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sit down and a formal test. They might ask you to come in and demonstrate some things and sit down and work with you on a few things. And that's great. That's the one-on-one attention that you should want, and you should want your instructor to pay attention on. Instead of you asking your instructor, oh man, do you think I'm ready to be promoted? When am I going to be promoted? When am I going to get my blue belt? When am I going to get my purple belt? Approach them and ask, hey, what are some things that I need to work on? What are some things that you need to see from me? Do you think I need to be defending more? Do you think I need to be working on attacks more? Do you think I need to slow down? Do I need to speed up? Do you want me to do this many competitions? Ask your instructor so they can clearly give you the feedback that you're wanting to know to be able to progress in this art that you've worked so hard for. But jiu-jitsu is hard, guys. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time. There's a reason why there's only like 3,000 to 5,000 black belts in the world that most people think, is it takes a long time. At the end of the day, don't worry about the freaking belts. But there's a reason why people tell you not to worry about the freaking belts, because it gets a headache and it gets too hard. But you can definitely do things by focusing on your basics and fundamentals. If you're a white belt, if you're a blue belt, really focus on these transitional pieces and how to blend your jiu-jitsu with the basics and some advanced stuff. If you're a purple belt, really start to find the game and the techniques that you do very well. And then a brown belt, make them freaking razor sharp and be able to just do them on everybody in the gym. So if you guys like this video, make sure you share it, give it a like and subscribe down below. Also make sure you guys leave me a comment about all the kinds of training you like. If you guys have any questions, please hit me up. Once again, thank you guys for your loyal support. 500 subscribers, woo! And thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.